is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 27 of the Dreams and Drive No Parking Podcast. Today our guest is Andréa Butler, who's the founder of Sesi Mag, a teen magazine for Black girls. We talk all about what inspired Andréa to launch the magazine and why she thinks it's so important that she continue to fill the void in the mainstream magazine marketplace in which she believes Black girls are virtually invisible. If you've ever had the inclination or the desire to want to launch your own magazine, I think listening to Andréa's story will definitely inspire you and motivate you that it is possible. We talk about some of the challenges she's faced, tips for finding sponsorship and advertising partners, how to get celebrities on your magazine covers, all that stuff. Beyond that, what I think you'll enjoy from Andréa's story is why it's so important that you don't give up on your dream and what you can do to motivate yourself when you feel like giving up. I will not give away any more, but remember, if you're listening in our iTunes or SoundCloud, please subscribe, rate, leave a review, share this episode with someone who you think will also be inspired. And last but not least, if you'd like to get today's episodes, go to dreamsanddrive.com and click on episode 27. And if you'd like to join our Dreams and Drive community, all you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. All right, hope you guys enjoy.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you about Sesi Mag and all that you're doing for Black girls nationwide and worldwide.
Well, thank you for having me on your show today and allowing me to talk about it.
And if you guys want a little backstory, so Andréa and I actually talked about, I want to say was it 2 weeks ago or about a week?
Yeah, it was probably about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and we had such a good conversation. I was like, wait, we need to repeat this conversation for our actual podcast. So this is the repeat. Hopefully we get all the goodies that you shared before for our Dream Drivers. All right, so if you listen, for all you guys listening in, the first question that we ask our podcast guest is, what inspired you as a child? I always think it's interesting to start off with this question because if you dig back into your childhood, those early years, you'll see patterns that unfold and reveal who you are today. So it's always interesting. So tell me, Andréa, who were you as a kid?
Well, as a kid, I don't really know, as a young kid, who I was inspired by, because I think I was, into everything. Mm-hmm. When I was about 4, I literally would tell my mom I wanted to be a ballerina, a doctor, a nurse, a social worker, a teacher, a ballerina, a writer, a big sister. I went on and on. I was like, I'm going to do everything. So, so that, I can't do everything, but mm-hmm. I got the big sister and the writer part, and I was a teacher at one point, so checked off 3 of those things. but as I got older, I guess in my teen years, I was really inspired by Brandy, the singer, Brandy Norwood. Mm-hmm. Cause at one point in my life, I wanted to be a recording artist, and I just looked up to her so much, and I still think we would be best friends if we met. And so
it's not too late. It's not too late.
I know, right? I got to meet her. It's still on my bucket list. Mm-hmm. And so I think just also in general, just my family, they've been inspiring and supportive just my whole entire life. But yeah, as a kid, I was a reader. I read all of the time. I wrote a lot. I still have my stories that I wrote from 2nd grade and 4th grade and on. And so it was always writing and literature and all of that that's related to that has always been a big part of just who I am.
I know in your bio that you sent over, you said that your friends call you Miss Correcto.
Yes.
How did that come about? Was that something that they always called you from way back? Or was it something that you acquired later on in life?
I acquired it maybe sophomore year of college. So
okay.
it was really one friend, one of my best friends from college, Erica. She and I, we were in the same freshman hall, and then we kind of lived in the same dorm the entire 4 years, just down the hall. We got lucky like that. And she would ask me, because I switched my major to English. I started out as a voice major, and sophomore year I switched to English, which probably should have always been doing. And she would give me her papers for her classes to just mark up, because she was like, I want to get a good grade, and you're an English major, do this for me. So I would mark it up with red, and I would just like write all over it. And so one day she was like, oh, Miss Correcto, but I got a B. I was like, well, see there? So that's where it came from.
All right. So I know after college, you said you were a high school teacher for a few years, and then you were working at Living Social, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about what inspired you to start Sesi Mag, and like how you transitioned into doing that full time.
Okay, so I actually got the idea for Sesi when I was 17 years old, and I was just laying on the floor of my bedroom, and I had like at least half a dozen magazines around me, and I'm just flipping through back issues of 17s and Teen Peoples and YM, and just all of a sudden, just literally just a thought popped in my head as I was looking through the magazines. I was like, how come there's never anybody that looks like me on the covers? You get like one a year if you're lucky. And then the token inside who didn't have my hair texture or my skin tone, so I couldn't even use the tips that were there. And I felt like those magazines also didn't address issues that I may have been dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So I just literally, it was just out of nowhere. It was just like a thought that just popped in my head. Now, I didn't even really start work on this thought at 17. I was just like, had the thought, and I was like, well, if nothing's changed by the time I'm done with school, then I'll just start a magazine. And that was it. That was all. I didn't think of it anymore until college. Toward the end of college, I decided, I was like, I'm not really ready to get a job, and I don't know what I want to do. I think if I got a job now, so I think I wanted to do that magazine thing again. And so I decided to apply for graduate school in magazine journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went straight through. I went to grad school at Kent State University and studied magazine journalism. And for my master's project, we could either do a project, a thesis, or a test. And I did a master's project where I created a business plan for a new magazine. And it was basically for Sesi, but it was called something different then. And it was like the departments had different names. Some things were different, but it was basically the foundation that really started the process of planning the magazine. So after graduate school, I think what it was I was a lot of fear of, like, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I just finished, like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Yeah, I learned all this stuff, but how do I actually really, put it into play? So I thought, well, it'd be fun to be an English teacher. So I decided to be an English teacher, and I was for 5 years. That wasn't quite my ministry.
What grade did you teach? Oh, what grade?
10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay, those are tough years, man.
Yeah. And it wasn't even the kids. Like, the kids were great. Like, we had a good rapport. I had fun teaching them. I mean, you have your issues every now and then, but it was mainly like, you don't really have a lot of support from administrators and stuff like that, at least in the schools that I was in. So I enjoyed the students a lot. And I was just like, you know what, if I really had the freedom to really teach and, not worry about tests and things like that, I may have stayed longer, but I felt like I could do more with the idea I always had, and I could, give back in that way and like really reach teenagers in a different way. So I wouldn't have to worry about discipline or anything either, or grading. So I can really still talk to them, but in a different way. And I feel like they're more apt to listen to me now because it's not like I'm not assigning them anything. So yeah, so that's how. So when I left teaching, I still wasn't sure about doing the magazine full time. We actually, my friend from high school and I, as my business partner, we launched the magazine as 3 test issues while I was still teaching in 2009, 2010. I got the job at Living Social in 2010, August. And then I put the magazine on the back burner, didn't do anything with it for like 2 years. then I went to my friend again. I was like, hey, do you want to do this again? It's just bugging me. Like I always get away. I would always like take a detour and then I would always come back to it. So we relaunched December 2012 and we've been publishing ever since. And I left Living Social 2013 to do it full time.
So can you explain to, I guess I jumped the boat. I didn't even explain to our listeners what Sesi Mag is. So can you tell us about the mission and who your target market is?
Yes. So Sesi, which means sister in the Sotho language of South Africa or Southern Africa, is a teen magazine for Black girls. And our exact demo that we have is ages 13 to 19, but we have 11 and 12-year-olds who read it. We have 20 and 21-year-olds who read it, but our core demographic is 13 to 19. And I started, to fill that void in the mainstream magazine marketplace in which Black girls are virtually invisible.
And I think that's so important that you really are focusing on that demographic, because as you know, like thinking back to like high school and middle school, there was no mainstream magazine. There was no go-to magazine that only featured or that really focused on the issues and the uniqueness of being a Black teenager, a Black, female woman of color growing up, and all the challenges that come with that. So what made you want to focus on this niche?
Well, because just because of my own experiences, just like when I was reading my own magazines, I was obsessed with magazines as a teenager. My mom told me one day that I had a sickness. She was like, you have a sickness. So we'd go in the stores, and every time we go to a store, I'd be like, I need one, please, I just need it. And she was like, you have issues. So I like couldn't leave a store without buying at least one magazine, and I still have magazines from 1996 in the house in a box. So it was just that I just loved them so much, but I didn't like the fact that we were left out of them. And Essence was just too old. So I was at 15, 16, 17, and even a little bit older, I didn't want to read about mortgages or how to raise children or retirement packages, so there was nothing for the teenage market and with Black girls.
So in those beginning days, when you said you relaunched in August of 2012, right?
December.
Okay, sorry. December 2012. So what were those days like? What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you decided to gear up and actually focus on the brand again?
Well, since I was still working my full-time job, it was hard to set up interviews with the people we wanted on the cover because I would have to wait till the weekends. Sometimes I would take my lunch break and I'd go outside and do an interview, and it was really hard because I didn't have any way to record it. So I was like, I have to write really fast, and then it was very difficult. But sometimes I was able to do weekend interviews. Sometimes I would take a sick day, and I was like, I'm just taking a day. I'm just gonna do this thing at home, where I'll work from home and take off while I'm doing the interview, so I can, get a better grasp on it, and be able to record and stuff. And also what was hard and what still is difficult, I think the most difficult thing about starting your own magazine from scratch is finding advertisers or marketing partners, because as a newer magazine, people haven't heard about you, and they're not sure, or people just say they don't have any money in the budget or whatever, and that part's really difficult. When I still had my full-time job, it was extra hard because I didn't have all day to research brands that would fit with our magazine and our audience and reach out to them. So it was super hard. Like, I didn't have any advertisers that whole first year. So yeah, those are the really hard parts.
And you were funding. I know in the beginning you were doing a lot of self-funding with your own savings and your own money, right?
Yeah, and we still are.
because one of the things I wanted to mention for our readers or for our listeners is that Sesi is a print magazine. So you do have like an online portal, but the core of your brand is like publishing a quarterly print magazine, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's unique, and everybody's going digital, but you guys made that specific choice to stay print. Why that?
Well, I think there's so many misconceptions with digital. Like, people think that it's better, but it may be better for some channels, but for magazines, especially teen magazines, it's not. Like, we have our website where we publish posts. However, like you said, the core business is the print magazine because teenagers still like to feel the paper and rip out pages of cute guys and stick them on their walls. You can't do that with a computer screen or a tablet screen. Also, reading a magazine is an experience. It's not like maybe like a newspaper, which I think newspapers still can be relevant depending on what they are, but a lot of people read, news online because newspapers aren't typically something you save. Unless it's like a commemorative issue, but magazines are something that have a super long shelf life. They're evergreen. People save them. Like I said, I still have magazines from 1996 and I don't plan to throw them out. I still look back at them for like research purposes and to see what was going on in my life then, but it's the same now. People save their magazines. They pass them along to their friends. We did our own survey a few months ago, a readership survey, and 100% of the respondents said that they preferred a print magazine over a digital one. 100%. Wow. And that was ages 12 through 21 who answered it.
You know what I think is interesting? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I think
no problem.
I think the word magazine has been it's becoming like a buzzword where everybody wants to call themselves a digital magazine. But I think at its core, the word magazine is meant to be something that can be physically held in your hand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Blogs, okay, I get blogs. You can't have like a physical blog. I think people should stop trying to use the words and interchange the words. Like, magazine is a magazine and a blog is something else.
Right. And there's places for both of those things.
So you were talking about how getting marketing partners and getting people to buy ad space in the magazine in the beginning was a challenge. So how did you work through that? Because I think for anybody who whether someone's trying to build an online blog, finding those paths to monetization so that you can scale is something that is always a challenge. So give us your tips or your story in that space.
Okay, so I'm still struggling. I just want to say that. It's still a hustle. It's still a struggle. But it gets better every time. So I've tried approaching it in various different ways. I've at first I was, I have no background in sales or ad sales or anything. So I just read a lot of blogs about it, like niche magazine blogs. And I subscribed to Folio, which is the magazine for magazine management. I'd read articles there. I would just Google all over the place, listen to podcasts about it and tutorial things like that. And I would just try. And so we got our very first ad in 2013, I think. And it was Eden Body Works. And what I did then was I just said like advertising. I think I started out saying like advertising opportunities, a new magazine for Black teen girls. And most people just never responded. Mm-hmm. So I think I got Eden Body Works to open the email when I said Eden Body Works plus Sesi magazine. So they opened it and then they actually decided, okay, we will advertise with you. Unfortunately, they advertised twice, but unfortunately they haven't advertised again yet. And that's the struggle because it's like, I think that some marketers don't understand that you have to advertise more than once or twice in order to see results. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not even measurable if you do once or twice. Like, you need to advertise at least 4 times so that you have some trackable data. Because it's been proven that print magazines are the highest way that brands can drive sales. Like, even a brand new study was just released a couple months ago, and the industry is doing like guaranteeing ROI and sales now. So commit to more than once or twice. What I try to tell people is, okay, look at CoverGirl and Revlon and Maybelline. They have millions of dollars. They make 1,000,000s of dollars. Everybody knows who they are. But guess what? They advertise multiple times in every single issue of so many magazines because they understand the value of it. So it's just hard to kind of educate other brands. But what I flipped to for this past issue, or this issue that's actually coming back from the printer tomorrow, our summer issue. Yeah. I framed it as a sponsorship package. So I kind of treated the magazine as like an event or something that you would sponsor. And that worked really well. We actually got Kinky Curly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I was so excited. And Ho Kinky Hair, which they have these clip-in extensions.
I love their clip-ins.
Right?
I interviewed, what's her name? Tony? Is that her name? The founder of Hot Kinky Hair. Okay, anyway.
Okay,
yeah, I interviewed her a while ago for Madame Noir, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and so they end in EM Naturals. EM Naturals bought in like an a la carte half-page ad, but Kinky Curly and Ho Kinky Hair bought the sponsorship packages, and I'm thankful to all three of those businesses because they are really, their partnerships with us help us to be able to stay around. Like that is, those partnerships with brands are very essential to having magazines, especially magazines that are independent, be able to survive.
So what are some of like the startup costs, or what are some of like your what's the word, recurring costs? Like what kind of things go into keeping your company afloat? Like what are some, actually let me rephrase that. I don't know, all these different things are coming into my head right now. But what are some of your top expenses? Like, if there's somebody else who's wanting to start their own print magazines, what are some of the things that you really have to budget for?
Printing is the highest.
Okay.
Thing that you will have to pay for. I mean, it is a lot of money. Postage as well. Mailing is expensive as well. Stock photos, sometimes those can add up depending on how many you buy per issue, but that's not like completely unreachable. We use stock photos, as other magazines do, to illustrate articles that we didn't have photo shoots for, because you don't really typically have a photo shoot for every single article you do. So we get stock photos sometimes. Also, when we do have photo shoots, we pay the photographer and the makeup artist. In this case, we had a hairdresser too. Before, we've been our models, our local models, just come with their hair done. But since we had our very first cover shoot with Sky last month, we had a hairdresser as well, and Sky was wearing Ho Kinky Hair clippings. And so those are costs. But I think those are the biggest. The biggest are like if you do a photo shoot, and then the biggest is printing, then postage, then photo shoot stuff.
And were you doing, I know you said you had a business partner, but as far as like running the day-to-day magazine and handling everything, are you like the solo person doing everything?
Yeah, basically. Okay, so my business partner Shannon is my friend from high school, and she's the art director. She does all the layout, the entire magazine by herself.
Wow.
Yes. And she has a full-time job and 2 children. So I'm like, oh, I love you, Shannon. So, and then I do everything else. I do the ad sales, I do the editing, I do some writing. That's another thing. We pay our writers. I do the social media. My mom travels with me. She helps me out, and we go to conventions. So we do traveling with that, where we sell at conventions and things. I work with a printer. I hire people and manage all of the freelancers and stuff like that. I reach out to brands when we need images. So yeah, everything else.
You're doing a lot.
Yeah, I have like 20 jobs. I know, it's crazy.
You know what? I think that's something that we all need to hear, though, because I know a lot of people, like, I even get questions about, like, how do you manage all the things that you do? And I think if in the beginning, like, if this is your passion, you just make it work. You make it happen, because if you don't do it, it's not going to get done.
Right.
So it's
now, For our fall issue, we are bringing on one of our writers is moving up to an editor, a department editor position. So she's going to help me out and manage 2 freelancers and help me with planning and stuff. So that'll help.
That's great. That's great. And I guess this is a good segue into the question I wanted to ask you is like, how did you build strategic relationships? Because I know that when we were talking before, you told me how you realized that going to like librarian conventions was a good way for you to build the brand. You got Sky Jackson as on your cover. Like, how did those things come about?
So with the librarian conferences, that was actually in my business plan. And I had kind of not thought about it for a while because I think I was feeling overwhelmed. And in 2014, we went to our first librarian conference here in Virginia. And it was actually suggested and reminded me that, oh, yeah, that's in your business plan by our family friends. 2 of our family friends are former school librarians. So they're like, yeah, schools, subscribe to magazines. You need to be in there because they've been looking for a magazine like this. And because I was nervous, I was like, well, will they understand? Like, the librarians, I love them. They are always like, oh my God, I've been looking for something like this. I said, really? Because I was too. So we all just share a moment and it's fun. So it's great. Their librarians are fabulous. And with getting celebrities on our covers, all I do is reach out to the PR reps and I ask, and usually they say yes. We've had a few say no. Amanda Stenberg's rep said no, unfortunately. Some people don't respond, like Zendaya's rep didn't respond. I'm going to try again. But,
of course.
But so far, so we've had a few that have said no or that have just, not responded. But we've had so many more say yes. So our fall issue is going to have China Anne McClain on the cover, and we're doing another photo shoot. So that'll be exciting.
So when you're reaching out, let's say to celebrities to have them on your cover, I know you had, oh my God, what's her name? Gabby Douglas, right?
No, we've never had Gabby on our cover.
Oh, wait, I saw her picture on something. Maybe okay.
We did just write a blog post about her.
Okay, you know what? Then sorry guys. Bad research on my end. Bad research.
No problem.
But for the celebrities that you did have, do you think that a big driver of them saying yes was, that they were in line with your mission?
I think so. I think that they also understood because, they're teenagers as well. They're Black teen girls or boys. And we've had a few guys on the cover. And I think that, like, their reps will say, they're really excited about this. This is great. Thanks for having us. And most of the people we've had on our covers haven't been on any other magazine covers because nobody is putting them on the covers. You know what I mean? So I think that that's also something like, oh, here's a magazine that really like knows who we are and it wants to have us on the cover and recognizes that representation matters and all of that, and that they're really, wanting to showcase us like Black girls. And yeah, I think that helps.
So what other like relationship has been really integral to you building the Sesi Mag brand over these past years?
I think that, of course, my relationship with Shannon, my business partner, is extremely important. Our relationship with the printer, because, oh Lord, they work with us. Like, sometimes I'm late and I'm just like, it's coming. I've been with you for like 4 years. It's coming. They have worked with us. They have, I pay them in pieces, and they just work with, and I tell them all, I'm like, thank you so much for working with us. And because, without you, we wouldn't have a magazine either. Our advertising sponsorship partners are extremely important. Again, like, without them, we wouldn't have a magazine because we wouldn't have any money to be putting toward anything. Also our writers, our freelance writers, we wouldn't have a magazine without them because I can't write everything. So
Why
So
not?
yeah.
You should be able to, Miss Correcto. I'm just playing.
Oh my gosh, I think I wrote like 3 or 4 things for the summer issue, and I was like wiped out because I have to edit all the other ones too, and I was
Oh
like, I don't want to
man.
write anything but one thing right now. So yeah, that's those relationships, and of course the librarians and people we meet on social media also are very important because they help spread the word as well.
So as far as growing your audience, I'm really happy that you mentioned social media, because I think anybody out there, especially if they're trying to build some type of editorial brand, some kind of digital brand, um, growing an audience and actually getting people to know about your magazine, to know about your mission, is so hard nowadays. I feel like everything's so oversaturated on social media. But how did you guys stand out, or what kind of strategies did you use in the earlier days to really grow your membership base, or your
I look
subscriber base, I should say?
I look back at the early days, like 2000. Well, I even look back at when we were doing the test issues in 2009, and I'm like, what was I doing? I had no clue. And now, even looking back, in my Twitter analytics, I'll go back a few years to see what was I doing on this day in 2014, and it's like it's okay, but I think we just learned as we've gone. So of course I study my competition and I see what they're doing, and so I see how we can do it better or differently. I look at what we follow a lot of teenagers, and so we see how they communicate with each other and how they speak with each other. And so we take on that same type of conversational tone, and that's how we can relate to them as well. And I think one of my favorite tweets that I've ever done has been the gif of Zendaya like doing like the Arsenio Hall cheer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says above it, when you find out there's finally a teen magazine for Black girls, and then there's the link, and then there's Zendaya, and so many people really love that one too. So I love it too, and we also use hashtags for people to spread the word. Today I got in on my personal one. I got in on the hashtag growing up with brown skin. And so I didn't even expect that many people to even, like see my tweet, I guess, because it's from my personal page and it says that I'm editor and publisher of Sesi Mag, but I got so many retweets and likes and responses. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so thank you so much. So even things like that help. And we live tweet, Black Girls Rock and Image Awards and things like that to stay in with people too.
Do you ever find that it's hard to think and act like a Black teenager when you're no longer a Black teenage girl anymore?
I used to be more afraid because I feel like I was like, oh my God, am I trying too hard? I hope not. But I think now it's not that hard because I'm not trying to be a teenager necessarily, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
still talking to them in just a way that is conversational and in a way that they would speak to their friends. So I just see myself as like their friend.
Okay.
And it's I think it's because when I was the high school English teacher, I think that really helped. Like I can see how the places I was in certain points in my life have led up to this point. So even just being with them helped me get back in touch with that side of like the younger side, I guess, of me. My god sister's 14. We hang out. So she reads the magazine, of course. So we hang out and talk, and people on Twitter, we hang out and talk. So, I mean, not, we virtually talk, hang out in person. But I still am very, very in touch with Black teen girls.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really helps.
And as far as distribution goes, you guys, people subscribe online and you mail them the issues, or are you guys in any like stores or stuff like that?
Right now, it's all online. Ordering is all
Okay.
online. And I literally, when the magazines come tomorrow, I will be on my floor for the next couple of weeks stuffing envelopes and mailing them out. I live at the post office. So we do all of that. It's very difficult to get into stores. I have reached out to several stores over the past several years. Usually I just don't get any response. And from like the bigger stores like Barnes and Noble, they both every time I reached out to them, they've said, I don't think you'd be profitable, so no thanks. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I look at it this way. I don't have to give them a cut of anything. So, because it's only $10 a year for a subscription, and retail would take, I mean, a lot of that probably. So we would have less to operate with, because the subscriptions really help us kind of kind of helps pay for postage, but the advertising partnerships what helps us pay for everything else.
And that's why I think, like, that statement that Barnes and Noble says, like, if it's not profitable, we don't want you. I think that's even more reason why what you're doing is so important, because you're able to provide a channel that these big distribution centers, these big retailers, they just see, they don't see the importance, they see the dollar signs. So I think it's so important that you just continue to do what you do, because if you don't do it, Barnes and Noble's definitely isn't gonna try to start something that is authentic and genuine. They might, there might be people out there who are just trying to find the quickest way to a buck, but I don't always think that's always the best way. So, I love that you guys are doing that. And I forgot to ask you this earlier. So eventually you're doing this full time, right? Eventually you ended up leaving your job at Living Social and pursuing, or not pursuing, and running Sesi Mag full time. So what have been kind of the challenges that you've faced since doing that? I know that you told me you were living, you had your own house, right? And you moved back home.
Right. So I used to get sad, because I was like, I feel like my life is going backwards. When I was 24, I bought my first house. I was a teacher, so I had this, the quote unquote stable job, and so I could have that. And then when I left that and I had to move to DC from North Carolina, and so I got an apartment right across the river from the city, and that is an expensive apartment. And so when I left Living Social, I did not have that paycheck anymore. So I stuck it out for 6 months, like hustling so hard, because I still have a freelance job on the side just to help. But I had to move back in with my parents, and that was very hard for me to adjust to. I just felt like, what is my life? Like, what am I doing? And I just felt kind of sad and for a while, but I've adjusted, and I know it's not forever. Like I saw that Instagram post you posted today, and I really needed that Monday motivation. So with The Rock.
Oh,
so
okay,
I really
yes.
like that.
Yes, he was living in his car for I didn't know that. It's so funny.
I neither.
I'm gonna read it for people, since by the time this goes live, it may not be like the top post, but basically it's a picture of The Rock, and the quote is, in 1995 I had $7 in my pocket, and I knew two things: I'm broke as hell, and one day I won't be.
Right. I love that. So I'm like, right now I'm living in my parents' house, and one day I won't be anymore.
But that's part of the journey, right? That's part of the whole Dreams and Drive journey, is like you have to be willing to like go through rough terrain to get to that nice sunny valley, or that nice mountain top. It's not always gonna be it's not always gonna be peaches and roses every day. But I think in the long run, if it's your passion, and if it's something that deep down inside, it's worth it, and you're doing something that's gonna have an impact far greater than you, and live on for, once you're, I don't want to, I'm getting all morbid now, but like once you're gone, you'll be like, you'll have a legacy. And I know, like, even with this whole podcast, I see this as something that I want to live on past me. I want this to be something that people can go back into the cloud archives and find, this Dreams and Drive episode with Andréa, and we're talking about Sesi Mag when it was just a small print magazine, and who knows in 100 years what Sesi Mag will be, or what the legacy will be. So
yeah, I think the journey is very important, and it's rough. I have a mentor that I met I call him my accidental mentor. I met him at a librarian convention, and he just kind of walked over to us. He was across the row, little hall, well, what is it, the aisle from us, and he just walked over. He's like, I've been looking at you and seeing what you're doing, and I just want to say, like, I really admire you. And he was like, he told me his whole story, and he just said, don't give up. And he gave me a plaque that said, like, if you don't work for your dream, you'll be working for someone else's to help someone else's dream come true. So, um, every time I'm having a low day, which I have periodically, I cry. I have to take a day and just cry, and I'll email him, and he'll make me feel better and just give me some encouragement. And so, yeah, it's really important to have that support system and realize it's not going to just be an easy road if it's worth it. Like everything, like I was freaking out about the summer issue. Like, how am I going to do this photo shoot? We usually get pictures from the PR reps because I don't have any money to do a photo shoot. And Sky's rep was like, we need to do a photo shoot. And I was like, so I said, okay, I'm just going to have to, maybe this is the push we need to actually start doing our own photos. And I was like, God, I need you to help me because I do not have this money. And it all worked out. And I was like, I freaked out and stressed out until the end, but it all worked out.
And that's sometimes the push you need. Like, sometimes you need that, like, oh my God, how am I going to get it done? And when you actually get it done, you realize, whoa, I did that? Like,
I know, right?
Really? Like, under pressure, I think you can get so much done, and then you also discover so much about yourself. And that's a good segue into this question I want to ask you is, through this whole journey of building Sesi Mag, what's the most surprising lesson, or what's something you really learned about yourself, you as an individual, something that you didn't know about yourself until you really got in the trenches with building this brand?
I think that I learned that I don't give up very easily. I don't think I ever thought that I gave up easily, so maybe that's not like a good example. But I thought, like before we actually started the magazine, I was always afraid. So I think that I felt like I'm not sure if I can really do this. Like, who am I to start a magazine? Like, who does that, by themselves? Who does that? So, I think that I realized I really can do anything that I really want to do with hard work and a lot of faith. And because a lot of this has just been faith, like I've stepped out on faith, I don't know how many times, and thought I was going to fall, and I'm waiting to hit the pavement. And then right before I do, I'm like caught. So I still have to work on my, remembering that like it's gonna work out. Just have faith. Sometimes it falters. I get so scared still, but I still, even though I get scared now, sometimes still, like, if you're not scared, then you're lying. So
yes.
So even though I still get scared, the point is I still do it. Like, I just do it because that's the only option you have. You just have to do it. And I think I've learned that I can just do it. It's possible.
And on those days when you feel like giving up, I know that you mentioned this before, but like, if there's one thing that keeps you going on those days, what would it be?
My readers and my team, and looking back at everything we've done, I'm like, I can't just stop this now. Like, I didn't come this far to just give up because something went wrong, or maybe 5 things went wrong. For the spring issue, literally, we did not have a cover until like 2 weeks before it was supposed to go to the printer. Everything else was done, but we didn't have a cover because,
oh my God.
Yes, I was freaking out. I emailed my mentor. I was like, I don't know. I should just stop. And he's like, Andrea, no. And my mom, she'll come in there and she'll be like, this breaks my heart. No, you can't give up. And so it ended up like I just kept emailing, and I had just reached out to so many people for that issue, and I either didn't hear back or they said no. And so then I was like, I was looking for more people to put on the cover, who I was thinking about putting on the cover later. So we moved up Chloe and Hallie, reached out to them, and they said yes. And I was like, praise Jesus. So it all worked out right in time.
That's how it always is. I heard this quote the other day, and it was like, sometimes we give up. The struggle is the hardest, right? The moment right before you're about to succeed, and that's when people sometimes give up. Like, don't give up, because the next moment, right, might just be like your point of success.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important to just keep going and to keep driving, because you never know. Like, you never know what would happen if you just believe in yourself for one more hour, one more day,
Right.
20 more minutes. Like,
Right.
What if you had shut off your computer and was like, you know what? F this. I'm not going to look at my computer for 3 more days. You would have missed a great opportunity. So.
Right. And I think also that same message gets replayed to me every issue also through my interviews. I mean, every single person I've ever talked to, all the celebrities there, even Sky Jackson recently, she was just like, I used to dream about being on Disney when I was a little girl. We lived in New York, and I had some really bad auditions a few times, but I didn't give up. She's like, the thing is that some people will just give up too easily, and it may have taken me 5+ years to get to where I wanted to be, but I got there. It's like, it may take years. It may take, some people are lucky it happens overnight, but that's not, most people don't go viral, for example. I mean, so that's not the tradition. That's not the typical story. The typical story is you work really hard. It can take a long time, but I feel like if this wasn't what I was supposed to do, because I ask every day, I'm like, if what I'm supposed to do with my life, like, what are you, if it wasn't, I think that it would have failed I think things wouldn't have come through a long time ago, and they wouldn't keep working themselves out, because they could easily just not,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what keeps me going too.
So what's next for Andréa, and what's next for Sesi Mag? Like, where do you see the brand going in the next few months, years?
Well, in the next few years, I would like to have millions instead of thousands of readers. I'm thankful for all my thousands. I just want to grow, is what I'm saying. So I just want to keep growing and have regular advertisers, regular partners that we work with to help, increase their sales with their brand, and they'll in turn, be helping us stay alive. And I want to continue to do speaking engagements with teenagers. I've done a few of those at schools, and I'd like to continue to do that because that's fun. I like to continue to grow our team and move into an office. I think that would be fun. And I would like to, for me personally, I would like to just, have the magazine be very successful, be on par with all the other mainstream magazines, and be the most well-known magazine for Black teen girls. And I would also personally like to, of course, get a house again, get married, have children. So I would like that for myself as well.
Well, I'm wishing and sending you the best of luck and lots of positivity so that those things do happen for you. And then when we have our, where are they now? Yes. Dreams and Drive follow-up, I can say that, you said it first on Dreams and Drive.
That sounds great.
So let's get into our lightning round, Andréa. So this part of our interview, I'll give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me the first word that comes to mind when you hear it. And just so you know, it's gonna go with our Dreams and Drive metaphor. So I'll give you the gear shifts in the car. Okay?
Oh, one quick question. So I just say one word?
Or okay. Just say whatever comes to mind when you hear the prompt. Okay?
Okay.
So the first word is park.
Stuck.
Reverse.
Reviewing mistakes.
Neutral.
Cruising along.
Drive.
Moving forward.
All right. That wasn't too hard, right?
Yeah, I feel like I could do that again. I was trying to think. But, okay. No,
good. Only one shot.
I know.
Everybody else has had one shot. Okay, the last thing is our keys to success. So, if you're going to be a dream driver, you have to make sure you have the right keys. So tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road. Like, what are those 3 things that if you don't have it, your dream driving is going to be a little difficult?
First of all, I like the keys metaphor. I just want to say that.
I stole it from DJ Khaled. Hopefully he doesn't come after me. Actually, no, it's not even his. Whatever. I like it. It goes with this mission, so whatever.
Exactly. It does. And I love it. Okay. So the keys to success, I would say, are actually different for everyone depending on their business. It's hard to kind of give certain rules you have to follow, because I think you got to break the rules sometimes to make things happen for yourself, especially when you're an entrepreneur. So rules don't always work. But I would say maybe some intangible things like faith, I think would be important. A support system, and the belief that you can do it. I think those are what you really need to get started, and everything else you can figure out, however it works best for you.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to add to that, because I just think it's a testament to your own story. What I've heard of your story is you have to have that drive. Like, you have to really know that this is what you want, and you're going to invest in putting in those long hours. And, once your magazine is ready to go live, and you have to invest in wanting to spend hours just mailing magazines. Like, it has to be fun to you. It has to be something that
Is that weird?
It's not weird, because I feel like people ask me, "Hey, Raina, what are you doing?" I'm like, editing my podcast, and they're like, "Oh, on a Friday?" I'm like, "Yeah." So this is, no one will understand, I think, unless you're an entrepreneur, or unless you're somebody who's pursuing your passion. You can't describe that feeling of like knowing that you just want to see it succeed. That's something that I think is hard to describe to people who just aren't in it. So do you have any parting words for our dream drivers listening in today, Andréa?
Let's see. Well, if you would like to order the magazine for either yourself or a Black teen girl it's only $10 a year, and it's quarterly, so it's 4 issues, $3.99 for a single copy, and you can go to sesimag.com and click subscribe.
And where can we find you on social media?
Our magazine social media handles are all at Sesimag, SESIMAG.
All right, so hopefully our dream drivers, after listening to this, will go on and follow you and order a yearly subscription, $10 a month. We can all afford that.
$10 a year.
Oh, $10 $10 a year. Okay, that's even better. All right, Andréa, thank you so much for this episode today. I think our conversation was lovely, and hopefully our dream drivers really enjoyed listening to you share your story.
Thank you so much again for having me. I had fun.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 27. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to Andréa's dream driving story and learning her personal keys to success that you can use in your own life. If you're listening in on iTunes or SoundCloud, I would appreciate if you leave a review, leave a comment, share this episode with someone that you think can be inspired. If you want to get today's show notes, all you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com and click on episode 27. I enjoyed talking with you guys today. If you have any suggestions for episodes or topics you'd like me to address, all you have to do is email me at raina@rainacampbell.com. That's pretty easy, but you can always go to dreamsanddrive.com for more contact information and more details there. Okay, so I'll see you guys next time for episode 28.